It is 10:30, and I think we're ready to begin. Thank you all for coming. This is the first meeting of the newly seated board. The meeting that we had last week on goal setting. Unfortunately, Judy Moore wasn't there and Barbara wasn't there. They had other commitments. Well, actually, Judy did and Barbara wasn't well. So now we can introduce you to the 5-member board. Jamaica, treasurer. Our secretary, Judy Moore. Our first vice president, Barbara Kinnett. Second vice president, Rosemary King. And I guess I'm Don Marianne. So thank you for coming. This is going to be a little bit unusual because we're going to be discussing things that are in our board packet. It may take a little bit longer than what you normally expect in the meetings. Perhaps it won't. But we want to deliberate on some issues today. And I hope you feel comfortable enough to weigh in if there's something you'd like to contribute. With that being said, do I hear a motion for approval of the minutes for January 22nd, 2016?
I move that the reading of the minutes from the Friday, January 22nd, 2016, Board of Directors monthly meeting, Friday, February 19th, 2016 special meeting, and Friday, February 29, 2016 special goal setting meeting be waived and approved as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor?
In favor.
In favor. In favor. In favor.
In favor. Next, we have another set of minutes that we need a motion on the approval of minutes for Friday, February 19th. That was a goal setting meeting. Oh, we did that? We did that? Oh, then fine. So what do I know? I can pay more attention to me. I guess we'll go to our reports now. Treasurer's report, Jim Aker.
The treasurer's report for the period ending January 31st has been made available. There are copies on the table back there by the coffee. Financial data for the month of February is not available early enough to have a financial report for February at this time. That's due to the fact that the board meeting is a week early this month because of the holiday next week.
Any comment on the report? We have a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
I move that the January 31st, 2016 treasurer's report be accepted and filed for audit. Second.
Any discussion? We have a vote?
In favor?
In favor. In favor.
In favor. We'll now move on to our administration reports, and accounting will be with Angelos Christodoulos.
Good morning, everybody. Reporting on the January activity, prepared data for the association's liability and workman's comp audit, and naturally that was completed in February as well. And it was very successful, and the association received the $1,600 refund for prepaid premiums. I want to commend all the staff for doing their job safely and not getting hurt, and therefore the premiums go up. So, good job, Ben, keeping everybody safe in your department. Paper cuts don't count. Prepare all the work for the annual financial audit by the independent certified accountant, and again that was completed successfully, and you received the report in the annual meeting last month. Prepare and file the 1099 miscellaneous forms for the vendors as required by the IRS. Prepare the 5500 report for the 401k as required by the IRS and the Department of Labor. Work on collection matters And I need to say that we did pretty good last year. We recovered about 14,000 of legal fees, which I mentioned in the last meeting. And this year we've received about $1,480 so far. So the foreclosed properties are at a 7-year low, which is good. Of course, generated all the financial statements for the operating fund, the reserves fund, and the activities committee, and processed all the bookkeeping and accounting for 27 social clubs and prepared income statements for each one of them. We renewed a CD with Valley Bank for $202,000 for 13 months at a meager of 0.5%. Made all the fund transfers of the surplus of 2015 surplus, which was $80,000. The actual funds have been deposited from the reserves bank accounts into, from the operating bank accounts into the reserves bank accounts. And also, we made the transfer of the 2016 reserves contribution, the budgeted reserves contribution of $235,560. We transferred those funds again from the operating fund into the reserves funds. All these monies have been invested in 3 treasury bills. Guess that's it. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Angelos. You make those financial reports so interesting.
Yeah, thank you very
That wasn't in any way a disparaging comment.
Oh, no,
You're a very
I
funny
didn't
guy.
think like that.
You're a funny guy.
I'm really in it. I'll take it from you.
As you can see, there's been a give and take here over the last several weeks. Let's move on to buildings and grounds. Now, Carl Gavris is ill, but he's also starting his vacation, so he won't be here today. And Dan is here, but he's here also.
So I'll try to make it short. Golf building patio, we finally got all the furniture in for that. And you may have noticed there is a dip in that patio where it subsided. The patio people will be out next week to repair it. They're on schedule to come back out. Pontoon boats, we have one of them out of service right now. There's a problem with the lower gear case. It's going to be an expensive repair, so right now we're looking at whether or not we're going to repair it or replace it.
What's the cost on that? The estimated cost?
The estimated cost to repair is just over $2,000. So, but I've been getting the information together so you guys can look at it all and decide what the best next step is.
Mm-hmm.
We were scheduled this year with the reserves if we needed to replace the engine, so it's whether or not we want to spend the money there or repair it. What else we got? The USGA Golf Association came out to the course, the consulting service. They went around with the board of directors and ABM and some of the staff, note down areas of concern around greens or trees around the golf course, and they will be sending us a written report of all their findings in April. So we'll get a written report back from them. The Adopter Pond is continuing. The next planting is set right now for around April 5th and 6th. They were going to go into the McMath Pond at the Pond of Blue at 8. Pond number 6 is the one that's on Sterling Road. We're having a big problem with torpedo grass right now. And that is going to be mechanically removed by the pond management company and treated. And then they're going to be stocking some grass carp into that in June, which for the long run should help keep that down because they'll eat it. We have finished fitting a new sound system out by the pool. Don't know if anyone noticed, but we've got all brand new speakers around the main pool now, so that sounds a lot better. And we're in the process of repainting decks and trim out there, just bringing it back up. Lodge renovation is going very well. We're on schedule for everything right now. Pretty much all that's left on the inside up there is some fireplace brickwork and some painting in the center ceiling strip, and then the wood floor refinish. And we have the bids in for painting that we've got to look through and decide for the exterior of the building. And I think that's about all I have right now.
Is there any time frame on that pond number 6 with the pond management company?
Yes.
When will they be coming in on that?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I have it written down somewhere. I just don't have it with me.
Yeah, that was a pilot project for us with the Adopt a Pond program. There seemed to have been something lost in the translation there. It's a partnership between the association and the Adopt a Pond people. The Adopt a Pond people seem to have performed theirs. We seem to have broken down a little bit, but we're working on it now. And that pond will be up and running. We won't be able to plant there because they're going to have to nuke it. They're going to get rid of the torpedo grass, all of the other issues there. It's an unusual pond. We understand that. The others are not challenged with torpedo grass to this degree. But we got to get ahead of us, and we can't let that happen again, and we won't. Okay, thank you, sir. Let's go on to the next one. Administration, President Services, Kim.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Well, all departments have been busy the last couple of months. Admin has been busy getting the new board member paperwork together and signed and everything that goes along with that. We have welcomed 72 new homeowners, residents, and I think they all showed up last week at the newcomers info fair, so that was a good thing. We did get some information on the golf cart ordinance resolution. The Board of County Commissioners is having a meeting to seek permission to have the public hearing March 29th. And then the hearing for the resolution is tentatively scheduled April 12th. So at least we did get a little bit of information. There for a while we were in the dark.
If I could just add something to that. There is support from some of the politicians, local politicians, who frankly we've been catering to. And I know there's been some question as to why. Well, that's the reason why, is we've got several of them are in support and are actually petitioning on our behalf.
Great. Other than that, it's pretty much been business as usual. As Dan mentioned, the lodge is coming along great. I'm really pleased. We've been on schedule, had a couple little hiccups, but kept right on rolling along. And it's really looking good. I've been down there pretty much every week since it started, and it's been kind of fun to watch it all come together. Other than that, it's business as usual. Thanks.
Thanks, Jim. Any questions on the administration reports? Yeah.
On the golf cart resolution, all right, they're going to post it in the paper on the 25th and then have a hearing on the 12th. I would recommend that maybe the Highland Lakes website put out a memo about this. If you're in favor of it, you need to go down to the hearing and let your voice be heard. Okay, Barry?
Good point.
It's good that you have to do it.
Yeah.
If you have 1 or 2 people against it and no one else is down there to be for it, guess what? It's going down, it's going to get shot down.
Well,
Be aware of that.
they're meeting to seek permission.
On the 25th, it's going to be
On
posted.
29th.
29th.
And then, assuming that is granted.
It's going to be posted on the 29th
Yeah.
in the newspapers. They have to
Yeah,
publicly
on the
do it.
website too. And then the tentative meeting, or tentative public hearing is April 12th.
12.
You intend to be there?
I'm going to be there, hopefully.
We
You
can
know,
round up some
we're
people
going to
to
let
that.
other people be there too.
Sure. Good.
It's too important to let it slide by.
Absolutely. And thanks for your support on that also. You initiated it. What was that, Fred? Why don't you explain what it's all about?
What we're trying to do is expand the scope of golf cart usage here in Highland Lakes. A lot of people are single households or double households with single cars. A lot of people have come to me over the last 7 years I've been here, why can't we expand it? Why can't we move and make it greater? We have people coming up using the tennis courts, and legally they can't bring their cart up here because they could be ticketed by the sheriff's office. Okay? We don't want that to happen. We want to be on the legal aspect of expanding the scope of usage for clubhouse activities only.
The current usage is reserved for golf course
only. All right, so we're going to expand 3 words, and it's been expanded. They had the resolution of rewriting it. It's already been rewritten. Now it has to go through the process, public information going out, and then a hearing for it. It's Freddie, it'll be like if you want to come up and use the pool here, maybe you can bring your golf cart back where the driving range is back there, walk over and use the pool, no problem. The hours and everything else will still be mandated. Half hour after sunrise and a half hour before sunrise, those carts need to be off the street. Sunset. Correct.
Fred?
Not being negative. But
That's not possible, Freddie. You'll never be negative.
Maybe you could have told. A number of years ago, we had golf carts were going out. We had 2 fatalities within a short time. We got a visit from the sheriff who said to us, one more fatality, because you people are driving these carts around illegally. We're going to remove all carts from all roads that belong to the county. So it's fine to do it, but keep in mind, the golf cart drivers must be extra careful because there's more activity on these county roads. So be careful what you're doing.
Thanks, Fred.
I'm all for it, because I don't have a clutch, I'm not against it.
Hank, excuse me, Hank, if you're going to be videoing this, video here, don't video over the audience.
You're not allowed to video like this.
You'll need to get waivers from them. Okay, thank you.
Would you remind him that I don't want my face video?
And I understand why.
We got your voice, Fred.
And I want my face video.
Hank, can you answer a question for me?
Yes.
Thanks,
And-
thanks, Hank.
In this proposal that the county's going to be looking at, will Highland Boulevard still be an
Off
exception?
limits.
Okay.
Everything's going to remain the same. They're never going to open up that corridor for us unless our penny for Pinellas, we as an association, goes down to the county commissioner and says, yes, you know what, we want sidewalks put in from point A to point B, which is something I'm going to see happen in my near future, okay? I can promise you that.
We've worked on that for years.
Let me expand on that. We as a community have not gotten anything for penny for Pinellas in all the years it's been going. It's about time, as a very active community, that we step up and demand, because we have commissioners that want, that like to see what's going on here. We're very active in a positive way. And it can happen. We just need the squeaky wheel to start the wheel turning. And you know what? You'll see it come together.
We need to keep them
Millions
welcome.
of dollars is a drop in the bucket when it comes to the penny for
Yeah, but we need to keep them welcome in our community as well.
Well, I can tell you that the one job you need to get done here is our last section of sidewalk. Then it won't matter that that section of Highway Boulevard is closed. They'll still have a safe pathway to get to the golf course, and people who live over there will have a sidewalk to walk on, and they don't have to cross Lake St. George. I wouldn't want to cross that intersection. But there's a North County Association, or there used to be, that we were asked to join, and we said, oh, no, we can't join anything like that, and they work in unison with you. If you need something, we'll help you. If we need something, we would like you to help
We've been
us.
reaching out to them.
If you talk a huge voting block, this is all over on McMullen, East Lakewood, and all that area, they're all in it. Cypress Gardens, that community is in everybody. And they work as a unit, and that's a lot of
They
pressure.
meet at the Presbyterian Church once a month.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure on those politicians, and we've been turned down for that sidewalk. We were on a list to get it. We were promised it,
They ran out of money.
but we were promised it.
Do you
And
want to
the guy
resurrect it?
that promised it to us got run out of office.
Would you like to resurrect it? Would you like to get
I
involved
don't
with
have
that?
time to do it.
See if we can put together a
Hank
committee.
is taking up the banner.
We're going to get it done. We need the support of the whole association.
There shouldn't be any question that that sidewalk is put in here.
All right, thank you.
I got a question. Does that include the lodge too?
Lodge?
No.
I'm not going to go there.
No,
Okay.
no.
Clubhouse
Just to
activities.
the clubhouse.
Okay.
If there are no other questions, why don't we move on to the committee reports, starting with Activities Committee. Patricia Hession, Pat, but before you give me the report, what we're going to be initiating in this year is each of the standing committees and the service committees will have a representative on the board. They used to be called liaisons. We're calling them go-to directors. What it does is it gives the committee, both the standing and service, someone to reach out to, rather than go to the administration and other staff. They can run it by that particular individual. They'll either bring it to the board, bring it to administration. I think it'll streamline. We've come to the conclusion that it will streamline the process and also take some of the pressure off staff, because so many of our committees everyone has a different impetus, and we really can't keep taking the time of our staff. So take the time of the board member, all right? For the activities committee, Jimmy Moore will be the go-to person.
Very good.
Please, Pat, I'm sorry for taking your time.
All right. I'd just like to say that our biggest event over the past 6 to 8 weeks was the information fair. I think that everybody, all the clubs, like there was just such a positive response. The other thing that I would like to point out, because we did have the best turnout of newcomers that I've seen, over half the newcomers are still working. So I just like the board to take that into consideration, that these are people, speaking for them, these are people who can't attend things during the day. So anything we can do in the evening to bring those people in, I think it would be a great representation for them. We did have a request from many of the clubs to have a repeat information fair next year. We're going to be discussing that both at the Activities Committee meeting on Monday and the President's meeting on Monday as well. From an event perspective, we had a sold-out concert in February. Our residents enjoyed the Dwight Eisenhower show as an Elvis tribute. We sold 365 tickets within the first 2 hours of ticket sales, and we had sold the remaining 27 in 20 minutes. That was unheard of. The next concert will be April the 16th. Coming up for activities, we have a follow-up President's meeting March 21st, a meeting of black captains on April 4th, and then over the next 2 months, we're going to be going through with all the clubs, the storage lockers in here, and making sure that we have the correct keys, because we do notice that some of the keys are missing. So we want to go through that. And then making sure that all the clubs have the appropriate bylaws and constitution. And we have almost all the entertainment contracts for 2017. We'll have them to the board probably by the 1st of July for you to sign. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, one more thing. The Activities Committee has a recommendation that, due to my inexperience, I didn't know I had to have it more timely than last week. The Activities Committee recommends that a Highland Lakes employee be trained on the sound system. This would allow the clubs to use the sound system for functions without paying the additional $400 plus for the sound technician, the audio technician that we actually pay. I don't know if everyone realizes that, but every time the Activities Committee hosts a concert event, we pay a minimum of $460 for someone to sit up in the booth and do the lights and the sound system. Clubs want to use it. They want that, level of professionalism that we pay so much money for, but it's sometimes just out of their reach.
Terry, is there anything we can comment on if I may ask?
Well, that is, sound and lighting is considered a profession. That's actually one thing my husband does. And what we pay is really kind of low compared to other companies and other individuals out there. It's something we just have to look into. Paying a staff member to learn that, it's just something we'd have to look into. I can't see who.
Can I comment? A clarification. I believe that the clubs, at least in the past when they've talked to me, is they want some way to connect with the system, but they don't need somebody up there running lights and or any other sound. So I believe the facilities committee is already on top of that and already has somebody that is looking into how that connection can happen. It doesn't necessarily, from my understanding, mean that we would have to have an employee. I mean, employee that knows how to do that, but, not somebody like what
Don
does.
That is a great point, and I would just say, as a resident, I'm sorry, I'm speaking out of turn, But just that level of communication, you guys know something that we don't know? And how do we bring that together so that there is more communication, more open communication between all of us?
Well, I think Don Noble will report on that. And also, sometimes, if I could just comment, sometimes I think, it's a little difficult to give out information too soon also, because until it's in the works, it is more of a rumor than what it is actually.
And Rosemary is the go-to person for facilities among other committees. And Mario Pompeo is a person with the sound engineering background who's spearheading this. So with Dan and with the facilities committee, yeah, I think we can probably accomplish something that'll satisfy everyone. For the major productions, yeah, I guess we're going to have to bite the bullet and bring in the professions. I know it costs a small fortune to do a little theater.
Almost
between $4,000 and $5,000. Subject in my report, and we wait till we fit to the subject, and then we can talk to it.
Sure.
Because we're uncovering it.
Okay.
I'd like to add one thing is that we're getting ready to work with all the committees and trying to get an interrelationship going there as well as the committee itself, and I think that will address what Patty was talking about.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Betty. Let's move on to architectural review. And your go-to person is Rosemary King.
Good morning, all.
Good morning.
Since the beginning of the year, we have had 5 completed meetings. We have had a total of 84 applications, with 1 being denied. Right now, the committee we've had 1 application where it was denied because of the wrong paint color per the standards. And we've also had 1 that we're reviewing this coming Tuesday on a widening of the driveway, which the homeowner is giving us another drawing. One thing that there seems to be confusion that our meetings are always open. We are the 2nd and the 4th week of the month on Tuesdays, and we're in the golf building in G4. Ongoing right now, one of the issues, and this has been going on since the start of Highland Lakes, is that we're down to 11 properties with fences. And what we've been doing with help from the management company is that once we find a house that has gone into an estate sale or it's up for sale and it's on that list, we've been sending a letter out stating that the fences are not in compliance to Highland Lakes. Everybody has come back to us and said, well, there's this grandfather law. Grandfather phase. There is no grandfather phase. Ray Booth kind of fought me up to on that. So right now, like I say, we're working on that. The last time I spoke was in January, and I did not have a full committee at that time. I do have a full committee. My committee is Phil Annaball. He is the vice chairman. Duncan Campbell, Sharon Potter, Sharon Syard, who is the secretary. I've got 2 new members, Ken Nunn and Mario Pompeo. Thank you. If anybody has any questions, concerns?
Have you assigned the members of the committee specific areas of responsibility?
Yes, we are broken into 5 zones. So when the homeowners turn in the app up into the front office, I gather them, they're logged. The cutoff is every other Wednesday of a non-meeting week. Then I post them. There's an agenda that's always posted outside Carrie's office. Then those people come in, look at their zone, and then the meeting is set, and it's like about 99% anytime an app comes in, it's approved. Because basically it's either going to be somebody's painting a house, somebody's doing a driveway, somebody's, let's see, some of the stuff, patios and stuff like that. So it's pretty cut and dry to the way the standards are in that. So. And we've also told people, especially when we had the fair last week, which was very beneficial because I had laid out about 8 or 9 apps. I had to keep going back to the front desk to get more applications. So I mean, there was quite a few, and everybody says, well, where do we find the standards? Well, the standards are on our webpage. If they go to documentation, the standards are on for the art committee. So.
Tom, I know one of your objectives was to encourage more people to participate at the meetings. I'm still going to suggest that it isn't going to happen in the golf building. Room 5 might be a perfect location for you guys to meet in.
Well, we looked into that, and the problem, and I think I don't know, was I talked to Terry or it might have been Kim, is that these rooms are blocked for the year in some of these cases.
You're a standing committee.
So
you have your priority over sub-associations, I believe, sub-associations, and also other clubs and groups. So you might be able to work something out if in fact you feel it's appropriate.
Well, you know,
I sat on the committee for several years and I found it awkward that we were meeting in that building.
Yeah, and that's a good question because I know the last meeting we had, we probably had 6 or 7 homeowners, and you get the committee sit there in the Jeep in that score room, and then all of a sudden you've got 6 or 8 people. It becomes kind of tight in there. So.
Also, if people you're more visible in room 5. People wandering through the building will stop in. We also have access to staff.
We'll look into that.
So, thank you.
Any questions?
We will be doing the 2017 schedules starting in June as we start. So if you want to look at it and see Rebecca about it and for myself.
And you're right under the board in terms of priority. Thank you. Boarding Association is Joe Corsier here. Does anyone on the panel would like to read his report for him?
Sure. Oh, I don't have my glasses though. Okay, I'm not going to read the whole report, I don't think, because he summarized pretty well. The Highland Lady is back for repairs for shifting problems. The motor problem developed when the captain tried to shift into rear gear as it left the dock at Tarpon Turtle. The Princess, presently they're looking into an anonymous accusation that a captain was approaching the dock too fast and hit the dock, doing damage to the front of the boat. This person will be identified, and then it was followed by the recertifications of captains. So that's probably a good thing. That summarizes it.
Well done. Maybe that's why he wasn't here. Facilities, and the Boating Association, by the way, the go-to director is Jim Akers, former commander of the Boating Association. So he'll be coordinating with them. For facilities, Don Noble, and as we pointed out before, Rosemary Kane is the go-to person. Don, facilities report, please.
Good morning, all. We've had 2 meetings since I became chairman. There was first month we didn't have a chair, so we missed January. February basically was a meeting of organizational, structural, talking about what I expect from the committee and what they can expect from me. Introducing the committee, actually 4 of them are here today. The committee is Phil LaForme as the vice chairman. Bill Earbar is on there. Gene Costello is our secretary. Tony DeSico. Currently Mario's on every committee in the community. Randy Romblad and Tony LaFaglia. So basically what we talked about was that our role should be a facilitator of ideas from the community, and it's not my job or their job to become a dictator of opinions and ideas that we want. We're here to listen to the community, the voice of the community, and try to bring those things forward. Our role is to assign different tasks to various members of the committee. They're to go out and research the different options that are out there for doing the tasks, come back to the pros and cons of each thing, make recommendations. Maybe we have to scale down what we talked about, maybe do a little more investigation in certain areas of the project. And then when we get done, if it's a project that doesn't require formal bids and stuff, we would talk about that, and if we want to go forward, we'd make a recommendation to the board. If it's something that needs bids to go out, we would work to help with staff members and whoever to develop a scope of work, a statement of work that we need to send out to. Generally, we want 3 contractors voting on it. Sometimes it may be more, depending on the complexity of the project. It might be something that you need a little bit extra to. And then at the end of it, sealed bids come in, they're opened by a staff member and a board, and hopefully my road to the board will call me, and maybe someone from the committee can just be there to see the opening. And then we talk about that, and eventually the facility committee makes a recommendation, the board says yea or nay on that, and we move on. What we've done, taking some projects, Jean, who I said is our secretary, she's taken on the task of overall landscaping for the community and working with the garden clubs and various people looking for where do we want to go with this. We want to use a landscaper. I think that's probably a good idea, but that needs to come back to the facilities committee to talk about the recommendations there. She's already contacted, if I read her report that she sent me already, you would be impressed with what she's already done and the information she's got. So she's handled that project. Tony's DeSica was working on the bocce ball court replacement, which is a item in the reserves, and Tony just gave me his report and statement of work that he thinks we need going forward, so we'll be talking about that at the next meeting. Mario, I'll save him for last. No offense, Mario, I just have the most important one right now. Tony LaQuali is going to be working on various things to do with the pool. The suggestion has come in from one of our resident suggesters that we heat the pool in the winter time so people can use it all year long. And so he's going to be looking at that plus other options. We went to a seminar over at Innisbrook that handles a lot to do with pools and spas and different things, and got some information for them, asked some questions. So we're a little bit farther ahead on that one now. Phil LaForme is handling, I thought he was handling 2 different things, but I see one's on the agenda, so maybe he's only handling one. The one thing he's going to be handling currently is just the recycling rate. We're looking at what are the different options. Do we want to continue to do it? If we want to continue, we do it the way we do it. Do we want to continue using one source to take everything we want? Someone that comes in weekly, it takes all the recycling. I don't know the answer to all that, but these are the types of things he's looking into. The other one had to do with the dumpster that's out there, but apparently the staff's taking care of that one, so we won't need to be doing that. Randy Rombland is handling a problem we had down on residents that are being flooded out down on 7 White Course where the Taco Bell facility is. There's a couple places down there where they get a lot of rain like we had last year. They're piling up sandbags because it's coming in and going into their homes. And so we're looking at that, and Randy needs to get a little bit of help from the staff. I know that Carl's off for a while, but if maybe Dan can at least talk to him about what we're thinking and what we need to do, and we can probably get the county in here and talk about where we need to evacuate the water to. I know we're doing something behind the green on 7, but we may have to tie into that area there. I don't know what the solution is, but we need to get the county out here and do some talking about that. Bill Earber, he probably is the hardest one that was given to me by a board member. And he has got a tough task of handling these power boxes and things that are around the community that are unsightly and ugly. And there's about 3 or 4 different things that need to be done. One is we got to figure out if we can find out which ones aren't being used and somehow get rid of them. Other ones that have to be used, how do we beautify them? Maybe we plant flowers and stuff around them, have some plants, I don't know. Maybe we try to convince them to paint them our Highland Lake colors. I don't. But anyways, he's looking into that. I don't think that's going to be a 5-minute fix or a 5-minute solution. I think he's going to have to go and spend some real time working on that. And Mario, back to Mario. I want to slate you. Mario's working on audio, visual, and sound, and trying to come up with a better way, as we talked about. Don's got I see a mic on today that's, not like the rest of them. That's the type of thing we should have a better use of. When I did Veterans Day, I used a of Mike, and it came across very well. Now, once again, Donnie and Marie, I don't know, who were up in the field working that stuff, but we have a good system, and we need to find out what its capabilities and use it to its fullest extent before we decide, A, to get rid of Donnie and them from a cost standpoint. Can we do it? I don't know the answer to that. That's what Mario's doing. So he's going to be doing that heavy work with the technology committee. He's got some ideas already, but we need to mesh it with technology to figure out what do we need, how do we get it going forward, get their recommendation too that they agree. And so hopefully at the end of the day, we will have a system that satisfies 90-95% of our needs, does it well, we're all proud of it, and on occasion have to go back and use an outside source and spend the money. Ultimately, it'd be great if we didn't have to do it at all, but I have no idea if that's capabilities there. I think that's about it, unless anybody's got any questions. Oh, I've got 3 more that aren't on the list that came to me the other day. I've already sent that out to the committee. We've talked about it. We feel a couple of them do not really fall in our area to be done, but I've suggested that back to my road to the board, and she's probably got to talk to the rest of the board about it, and we'll see where that goes, and it may end up back with me, I don't know. And if it does, then we'll work the issues, but 2 of them we felt, belonged with the staff, and the other one we felt was part of what we should be doing. Any questions?
Good job.
Oh, also 2 more things, I'm sorry. One is, we're going to be assigning areas to everybody in the community for everybody to, if Mario's got a certain area, it's up to him to take a look, see what's going on, encourage people in that area to come forward and talk about their needs and stuff. And so we're going to assign that to the people on the committee. And the second thing is I'm going to try to get some way to communicate all this. As you talked about people knowing some stuff and the residents not. We can't give you all the answers, but at least we can talk about what we're trying to accomplish and things like that. And as we do get some type of solution or recommendation, not necessarily a huge community comes to all these meetings. So with that in mind, we need to figure out a good way to communicate all that. And maybe it's via a project list that we put together that we publish somewhere that people can get to, look at it, and see all the various things we're working on, who the assigned person is so they know what the contact is, what stage we're in, that kind of stuff. So that's what we're going to try to accomplish.
Good job. Any questions from anyone? Any board members? Thank you, Don. I'm so glad I recommended you for the post.
Only got one good area between the wrong way.
I'm so glad I recommended you for the post.
Is that what happened? I must have misunderstood.
There are a lot of inside jokes going on here today, but you'll become part of the
It wasn't 100% fault, I know that.
Unanimous. Thank you. Finance Committee, Ray Booth isn't here, but we have his surrogate, who is, that really should be Jim, but we'll give it to Judy.
I wouldn't want to step on his toes. You don't think he's stepping on his toes?
He doesn't seem to be offended by you taking on that responsibility. This is for the Finance Committee.
Finance Committee. Ray had quite a very fancy PowerPoint production here, and I'm not going to be able to reproduce that, but I will tell you what it said, if you can hear me. The accomplishments were that they have conducted 4 meetings this year, and the committee consists of Ray Booth, Karen Mansman, John Myers, Don Noble, Ben Sellers, and Fred Serrano. The activities are that they're reviewing internal control procedures, and they're trying to understand the reserves and the priorities and the funding thereof. They've developed 3 graphs to demonstrate income variance, expenditure variance, and reserve funding. And he has some very nice overheads here that would have been nice for you to see. If you want to come up after the meeting, I'll be glad to show them to you. Other than that, that concludes the report.
Thank you, Judy.
How come Mario's not on that committee?
I don't know. It must be an oversight.
And who are they reporting to?
I thought you were, I'm sorry.
Who are they reporting to?
Of course, the corporate treasurer.
Okay.
That's the go-to person there, all right? But since Judy really wanted to play a part in this whole process today, I wanted to give her something to do. Okay, so you don't mind doing it. In a way, I'm sort of glad that Ray isn't here because I saw those graphs and I'm still confused by them. We need to talk with him about them. Angela, don't you agree? Golf committee, Jerry Cronquist, he too is here. One of the reasons one of the reasons why we have some of our standing committee chairs not here is because this is an unusual date. The time is a little bit off, but we couldn't do it next week because it's Good Friday and Easter weekend. So we certainly get a pass on this. But in Jerry's place, we've got Ed Oliver.
We haven't got to know what was submitted. Only thing I'd like to do is thank Carl and Dan and his all his work on the patio furniture.
Okay. All things come to people who wait long enough.
And Mario is on the golf committee.
That's right. Very good. Any comments on any of the committee reports? Now we get down to serious business. It's called new business. First item on the agenda, discuss and consider the March through February committee chair terms. I'm confused by that also. Does anyone want to read that motion?
I'll read it. With the exception of the Highlander, a service committee with term dates already established, I want to move to approve changing the standing and service committee chairperson's term from beginning on January 1st and ending on December 31st to beginning on March 1st and ending on the last day of February. This is to include the voting association's 2-year term. Do you want them to change too?
I'm sorry?
Are they supposed to be changed?
The voting association is also exempt from this.
Exempt.
It has to be there. The voting association votes for the commander. It's a 2-year term. They determine the details there.
Okay, so it says to include. Being excluded.
That's why I said I was confused.
Okay, so I would guess this should say, this is to exclude the voting association's 2-year term.
Yeah.
Rather than include.
I said it needs to go to March to February for 2 years.
And they determine, they determine their.
There's still a standing.
Yeah, but they're being
Yeah, but we had, believe Jim, you were the commander, we had excluded them in the past.
Well, a number of issues there. One is that it's different because it is a 2-year term, and the other terms are all 1-year terms. It's different because they're elected by the committee rather than appointed by the board, and then the committee appointed by the chairman. So there are differences, but the starting time of the term, it could be changed if it's more convenient to have them coincide with the seating of the new board. I think at one time all the committees did actually coincide with the seating of the board. That was changed, and at the time the commander's position was changed, and it was changed from 1 year to 2 years and back to 1 year. It's been all over the place.
Well, before we continue, we have a motion on the floor.
I did second it.
It's been seconded.
It's been seconded, and I was waiting for that before I said anything about this.
And it's all of it's a good idea because coinciding with the seating of the board just makes a lot of sense.
It does, and there's confusion over the commander of the voting association anyway, because by policy, his term currently runs from January 1st to December 31st. However, in the policy it states that he takes his office at the captain's ball, which is usually the 4th Saturday in January. So maybe that all needs to be cleaned up, and there may be a better time to have the voting association commander be put in place. Maybe it should be at the captain's ball. Maybe it should be at a given time, and the captain's ball just becomes more of a ceremony and is deleted from the policy. So,
I think we can move the question because I think it's great that we excluded it, so you can decide that later.
if we're all comfortable with it, since there's no urgency on doing this, since this wouldn't take effect until 2017 anyway, maybe we want to think about it.
I'd like to think.
You want to think about it further?
okay, but in the motion, is it included or is it excluded? It says it's included.
Yeah, it is included, yeah.
No,
I changed it to exclude.
Yes,
Yeah,
that
it's
is
excluded,
separately.
But he's saying it is to include.
Yeah, I think we're still fuzzy on this, and since there isn't any urgency, if someone would like to table this, I would.
I make a motion that we table this for further discussion later.
Second.
Anyone want to discuss it further? All those in favor?
In favor.
In favor?
Okay.
In favor? Anyone opposed? No, I guess not. We have 5 who said no. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Discuss purchase order check signing policy change. Who would like to make that motion?
I'll make it.
Judy?
I move to approve adding to policy that the president or corporate treasurer of the board of directors be the first officers for second signature on purchase orders and checks. In their absence, other officers that are available will sign. Currently, it's the...
Judy, wait.
Wait.
I second that.
Okay. Currently, it is the manager and another board member, and so we're wanting to change that so that it is the president or the corporate treasurer.
Do you need to be more specific about the account for which the signatures will apply?
It has to do with purchase orders, invoices, and checks on either account, any account.
On any
That,
account?
that requires a board signature.
Doesn't that need to be in your directive as well?
Not necessarily, but...
Because we have other bank accounts that you're not part of?
But it encompasses all of that.
We would do the
No.
activities.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
Do we do activities?
No.
Do we sign?
No.
No, we don't.
Those committees,
We don't sign activities.
You
No.
approve the contracts.
Mhm.
Once the contracts are approved, it's like a done deal, actually. The purchase order is just another redundant piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
But we have been doing,
Go ahead. Continue.
we have been, the activities committee has been preparing a purchase order, attaching it to the contract. And of course, that fell under the rules of the purchase order contract, purchase order signing. Most of the contracts are about $2,000, and they require the manager, not the activities, any person of the activities to sign that purchase order, but the manager and the board to sign those purchase orders.
The motion could be changed to just say, for second signature on purchase orders and checks requiring board signature.
Okay.
Or person.
So I would move to amend it to read, insert requiring board signature. The motion would then be to approve adding to policy that the president or corporate treasurer of the board of directors be the first officers for second signature on purchase orders and checks requiring board signature. In their absence, other officers that are available will sign.
And why are we doing this? We're returning to a policy that had been changed.
May I need a second?
Second. Someone second?
Second.
Excuse me. Why are we doing this? We're returning to a policy that had been changed. And if you're the corporate treasurer, you're the corporate treasurer, and you have a responsibility here. And in the absence of the corporate treasurer, then you go down the pecking order. But it should not be where someone who's entrusted with the financial well-being of this community, who's overseeing things at the last minute, someone says, by the way, Don, would you sign this? Well, if I'm not in the loop, I shouldn't be signing this. And in his absence, of course, he's not going to be here 24/7 for the entire year. We'll all be moving around. But it makes more sense to go back to a policy that was fiscally sound for many, many years, and for some reason was changed a couple of years ago. So, any more discussion on this?
Question, does it make any difference in the pecking order to say president first? Shouldn't the corporate treasurer be the first line of
Corporate
signature.
treasurer, absolutely.
So I would
corporate
prefer
treasurer.
corporate treasurer or president rather than
Yeah.
president.
Oh, no, I agree. I agree. The corporate treasurer is a responsible party here.
And that be a friendly amendment, or do we have to go through the
I
process?
don't know. What do you think, Rosemary?
I think it'd be friendly.
Friendly, okay. Thank you.
Ma'am?
Okay. You want to read the motion again, or should we?
One other comment I'll just make. All of your board officers, every one of them has the same vote, and therefore every one of them is responsible. Every one of us is responsible for being fully knowledgeable about the workings of the association. So every one of us, you can feel confident, will know what they're doing when they sign any check. Just a comment.
Good. Well said. Do we need to read it again?
I can read it again.
Yeah, let's read what it is.
Right now. All right, I move to approve adding to policy that the corporate treasurer or president of the board of directors be the first officers for second signature on purchase orders and checks requiring board signature. In their absence, other officers that are available will sign.
Invoices, purchase orders, invoices, and checks.
That isn't in there, but.
It is there now.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Is there a limitation on the amount of the check? Or all checks?
It's according to our
Must be
current,
signed by-
it's according to our current policy now. It's the same as our current policy now.
Okay.
Kim, care to speak on it?
It's the same as it is now.
Which is?
Anything over $2,000, well, for checks, I sign checks, so does one board member, which will now be the corporate treasurer or down the line. For any purchase orders over $2,000, it requires my signature and another board director. So that's to say that remained the same.
I just want
I'm not sure what
I just
you were
want to be clear about this. Because the purchase order, 2005, has to be signed by the manager and a board member, which now is changed to the treasurer and then the president and down the pecking order of the officers. Once a purchase order is signed by the board member that is assigned, who should sign the checks then?
Good point.
You already authorized the expenditure. Who should sign the checks? I need to clarify this because if I have a $25 check that needs to be signed, should I call the treasurer to come and sign the check? Because it requires two checks, two signatures on the check.
I think you can use your judgment there.
Sorry?
I think you can use your judgment there.
Oh, no, I don't want to use my judgment. I want guidelines.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I work by guidelines and not my judgment because someone could say you use the wrong judgment. I have to have your guidelines.
I think what Angela is saying is, and we'll clarify that in the minutes here, and that would be anything under $200 can be signed by any board member.
I have no objection as long as I have
The first time.
clear guidelines to go by when checks need to be signed. Because the accounting
Did that clarify it, Angela? Is that clarified for our board members, okay?
Well, I thought there were two paragraphs in there that addressed the signing. One was for over 2,000, but under 10, and the other one was over 10. If I'm remembering
Yes,
correctly,
that's
but there were
correct.
two different spaces, and this is only one of them.
But when you need a second one, you get another board member to sign. When it's over 10,000.
Yeah, you've got them today.
Just to clarify the question, Angela, you're saying purchase order has been done, that the expenditure is already authorized by the manager and the board member. Yes. And now the check has to be written, the check signed.
Well, the service has been provided, the goods have been received. it's an obligation you have to pay. The appropriate manager, the manager, approves to pay this invoice because the goods have been received, the services have been received. The function of the accounting is to voucher that invoice and cut a check. So we have an expenditure that has been approved by the spending authorities, which is the board of directors. And now we just cut a check and we need to get it signed. In the $2,000, I think it's already been approved. Right? But I will come to you for a second signature. Now, what about the ones that are less than that and they don't have a board approval? You know, $200 something.
You need another signature on that check.
On that check, we do need a signature.
How often do you create these checks, and how urgent is it? Can they wait until the treasurer is coming in to sign all of the checks?
We cut checks once a week, once in a while there is something that is needed, and we cut that check. But the checks need 2 signatures.
But typically there isn't any urgency in getting the check out. And I think you can work out some kind of a relationship, an arrangement with the treasurer, and in his absence, the president, so that we will know on a certain day, and we meet here, we sign checks.
Well, and if that urgency arrives, and you're sitting there and somebody says, I need this money, I need it now. And believe me, I understand that because I've been there. I'm glad. So, and I'm not available right now.
But those areas.
And, you know, you can say, okay, Jim wasn't here, Don wasn't here. Right now, there was a need to get it sorted.
Which I believe is discretion.
Use the board member.
Judgment and discretion.
Even better, I give the checks to the manager can handle it. That's the way I have been doing it.
Could I read what it said previously? That might help a little bit. And to clarify this, if it doesn't, it's just a few minutes lost.
Just don't confuse us anymore.
All right. The first one was the section 2, page 227, part B. No. Sorry. Scratch that one. Page 116, expenditure of the budgeted funds more than $2,000 but less than $10,000 shall require approval by the association manager and 1 board member. Is that what we're talking about? And we want to add this to it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then the second one was on page 117, for purchases more than $2,000 but less than $10,000. The seller's supplies billing document shall be affixed with the association's payment approval and bear the association manager and 1 other board member's signature.
Mm-hmm. Once we approve the concept, then we can incorporate it in the proper policy. Am I correct in that?
Right, that's why we didn't.
Can we move the question?
I move the question.
Okay. Can we vote on it? Or can we like to vote on it? Jim?
In favor.
In favor.
In favor. In favor.
In favor. Next. Third is discuss and consider policy change for section 2, page 227, part B. Would someone like to read that motion?
I move to approve amending the policy language for section 2, page 227, part B, to include that the association and/or business manager may, instead of shall, attend meetings of the finance committee at the discretion of the association manager.
Second.
Any conversation on it? Anyone from the board?
I'd like to hear from those who are in favor of it.
Anyone in favor of this particular motion?
Yeah, I think the purpose here is that it's not necessary at all these committee meetings that the business manager be present. And if there are questions that are to be asked of them, they can be prepared in advance. The business manager or the association manager would be there. If there are questions she can't answer, then it can go to Angelos later, and you can get a response. The key is Angelos has enough work to do, and he has a number of reports he has to get out each month. We have already concerns that they aren't getting out quick enough, and we want to tie him up in meetings every month, and I don't think it's necessary. If it was necessary for him to be there, fine. But that would be at the discretion of the association manager. If she feels it's necessary for him to be there, then she'll tell him and he'll be there.
I have a comment. I support the motion, and I think that sometimes it's important that the manager have a certain amount of discretionary powers. So I support the motion as it's read. I do recognize that the finance committee has concerns that the manager be available, and I think that this has nothing to do with whether or not the manager or the business manager will be available. And if the agenda looks like they really need to be there, they can be there. If they happen not to be there at the start of the meeting and something comes up, most of the time they can be called in. So I support the motion.
Any other comments?
I would like to bring up a few points that I feel. I think we all have heard, well, that's the way it's always been done, and that's the twatty approach. And I think sometimes there is value in it. I'd like to say that this has been something that's been the way it's been done for years, and we've had very good financial safety and all of that, and I feel that that's an important piece of it. There's the paid professional, which brings the continuity and the stability to the committee, and then there is the committee, which often wants changes, and sometimes they're good, sometimes they need to be re-examined, and the professional brings that stability to it. And as far as having work to do, I think we've all been in positions where we'd rather be anywhere else than in a meeting, and we had work to do. And I know in my job the saying was, good supervisors die and go to heaven, and bad ones die and go to meetings. So I understand that people do not like to go to meetings. It seems to be a waste of time. But when they're dealing with the money and dealing with the finances of the community, I feel it's important that the professional be there.
Any other comments?
Well, I would like to say, having been to a lot of those meetings, the professional being there turns out to be more disruptive than help, because sometimes the questions get aggressive and rather personal.
You do have a professional there, I should say, a representative of the board on a professional level, because the corporate treasurer is a non-voting member of that committee. So you do have that, you have someone there, and you have the association manager is responsible to know everything in the community. And I'm confident that when Kim is attending one of these meetings, if you have a question for her, she's going to have an answer. Speaking to Ray Booth, who's the chair of finance, Ray is sensitive to the fact that they do have their work to do. And he knows that he likes to run very long meetings. And last time I attended one, it was an hour and 40 minutes. That's much too much time, and that's fine to do it. But it's much too much time for our staff. And if there are questions that need to be asked, they can be asked in advance. If others come up that can't be answered, they can be researched and answered. So I'm in favor of the particular motion because I think it's in the best interest of our community. Anyone? Fred, you had something you wanted to say on the subject, and then Don, your hand was up.
I'm going to say this best I can.
Be on your best behavior.
For many years, the purpose of the finance committee was to watchdog everybody. They become the obligation of the finance committee members, the board, and staff. There is another way that we can do this. For 25 years that I know of, we always had a member stay. And I can understand that time involves. Maybe we can.
She's going to be there. It's
That's not the motion you're writing, okay? The motion you're writing, what you're saying is, it's at the discretion. I think it's a far difference of saying, well, the manager, since your top is very busy, the manager be there for the first half hour or 40 minutes and get that out of the way. All of a sudden,
Good job.
things change. The first meeting of this board is to take away the protection of the people. That's what you're going to be known for. And I'm sorry, there's a way that we can do something that had both sides. I think you're making a gross mistake here.
When we
But
say
that's
this,
the question, I'm sorry, Darren.
go ahead, I'm sorry.
We have a question 3 weeks ago. It took 3 weeks. And by the way, in our meeting yesterday, there was a lot of conversation about this, but it wasn't brought up in the report. There was a lot of conversation, right, Jim, in the meeting yesterday, about this item. And I think you make a mistake just saying, well, because he's busy. There's got to be a way we can take a half hour, 20 minutes, get the questions out of the way, and then you leave. You don't have to sit there, or she don't have to sit there. And I can understand all that. But to just say, well, it's at the discretion. Now, we won't know answers to our questions for another 30 days.
That's not what they're saying at all.
Yes, it is.
It's not what they're saying.
Okay.
The manager does have discretion. The manager can determine how to best utilize her staff. And I can't imagine Kim not coming to a meeting when she's been told it's important. Please, can you arrange it? But if her schedule demands that she be doing something else, then you know what, guys? She's the one running the place. You are the volunteers. And what I've experienced in my years here sitting in on those meetings is that I found many of the people sitting there had an agenda. And the agenda was not necessarily in the best interest of the community. It was just to stir the pot. It was to create issues. And Freddie, you've been there and you've seen that.
You're using an isolated case because we were told because the previous committee treated somebody, you're holding responsible.
We're going to vote on it. If the board agrees that it's not good practice to do it, then we won't do it. Don?
Couple things. First off, one meeting a month, that generally lasts an hour, it went a little over yesterday. So it's only an hour at a time of probably one of the most important committees out there. Ray Booth is one member of the committee. He's in the minority. At least four people on the committee believe that someone should be there each month. Believe she should be there, you got to at the discretion, she doesn't show up or she doesn't show up. So we're saying we think somebody should be there. The issue is you don't know every question that's going to arise until the conversation starts. You didn't know what these questions were going to be before you started. So how can you say that just because you submit one question or there's two questions to Kim and she provides the answers, that 5 other questions may come up on? You don't know until the information comes to you. And Ray needs to control the board, this committee, and he needs to take control of the room if the room is an issue. All right? He can adjourn it if he feels it's getting to the point where it's an attack. That's the committee chair's responsibility. But to take that away because you're worried that someone's going to say something not nice to Tim or not nice to Angela, don't take it away for that reason.
That's not the issue.
Okay, but then I'm just talking what Barbara brought up. That because it got aggressive with the staff. I'm just saying that that's Ray's responsibility. But we don't know the questions we need to ask until some of the dialogue comes from questions, from what the answers are. So if you have nobody there and stop the meeting for Ray to run out and try to find somebody and bring somebody back in the room, it's ludicrous. You know, then the meeting will be an hour and a half long. I don't know. I've done almost every finance committee. Yeah, there's been a couple of incidents where things were a little gray, but overall, I don't think that's on the agenda of finance committees, and it certainly wasn't last year, because there wasn't enough meetings for the agenda.
I had the opportunity to sit in on the finance meeting yesterday, too. I understand your point, Fred, and, you know, by putting the motion the way it is, where it says May, that still allows Kim and Angelos to decide, okay, let's go in for the report on the financials for this month. Because that's the main reason for a staff person to be there. And then when the finance committee wants to get off on some other discussion, the staff doesn't have to be there for that. It's because they're planning, they're doing a process. And so leaving the motion as it is where it says May, it doesn't mean that you're not going to have somebody there. Okay?
What provoked this to come up? I mean, who
Sound
made
business-
the request?
No one made this request.
Nobody made the
No,
request.
it's sound business practice, Fred. You cannot tie up important staff members for hours of meetings, the same way you can't allow everybody in the community to walk into the manager's office, walk into the business manager's office, at will. They're retired, our staff works here. Then we hold them responsible for failing to perform, and I can understand it. Nobody gets hit on more than Dan and Carl. That has to stop.
Is this applied to all staff members?
What?
I mean, we have the manager comes in, the accountant comes in, Carl comes in, is this applied to Carl too? He doesn't,
Right.
he generally is always there. This
At the
applies to
finance
him,
committee?
sign up.
At the finance committee?
Yeah, it's a question.
If he chooses to be there, if Kim chooses to
So
have him
we
there.
really may not have anyone.
What you're doing is you're creating an issue here where there isn't one.
So we should give it to the corporate treasurer, and within a day or two, he should have answers for us? Is that what we do, or we wait for the following month?
I don't see why you have to wait 30 days. The policy written for the finance committee is really quarterly meetings, but meetings at the discretion of the chair. You can hold a meeting every other day if you want one.
So even the volunteers, the finance committee, just don't have to show up either. I mean, that-
Well, then why would you volunteer for a committee?
I don't know. I don't know, Don.
I love battling with you. It's always been fun.
No, you made it for the first meeting.
Somebody had to have requested that this motion
Yeah, I
be
know.
made, and so we do understand that.
Mhm.
And all we're saying is the May makes it like all the other standing committees. The manager is not obliged to attend every meeting. It just makes that a uniform thing. It's, they're going to do the right thing by you. And, it just, you got to
Exactly.
trust. You got to have a level of trust here.
And when we're on the subject, the matter of the go-to directors, we haven't established any particular guidelines here. It's up to the individual director to determine how they want to relate to that committee.
Can I call the question?
I think there was one more comment.
Does every standing committee's verbiage say anything about shall or may in any of the charters? Okay, so there's a reason this was put in the first place. It's because of the significance of this committee. And that's why I said shall, because they should be there in order to talk about issues. With all due respect to myself when I was corporate treasurer, or Don or Jim, none of us know the answers to these questions all the time. So that's why you need the staff there to answer the questions. It's 1 hour a month.
Well, I trust they'll do the right thing.
One number. They don't have to report anything
One
like
more
that.
comment.
I don't think it's a question of what's right or wrong, it's just what's good for the community. And I think when we're dependent upon the finance committee to make good recommendations to us, and I want them to have all the information they need. We had about 6 or 8 pages of material here related to the finance and from the manager's report. And I think that's a lot to expect us to be able to digest. And I think the finance committee gives us sound advice, and that's what I want them to do, but I want them to be able to balance the professional point of view with the volunteer point of view. And I see them as working together, but I can see them as being miles apart sometimes. And I don't think it's a right or wrong, it's what's good for the community. So I'm still saying we need that balance at those meetings.
Are we going to call the question? Are we ready? All those in favor?
In favor.
No.
In favor. In favor.
In favor. Thank you. Rosemary has to leave. She won't be here for the next 2.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rosemary. Next one is discuss and consider painting bids for the lodge exterior and golf maintenance building. Jim, you want to read that one?
Roof project, you skipped one.
Oh, excuse me. I beg your pardon. Let's go back. I beg your pardon. We discuss, consider policy rules and procedures for handling golf rule violations. Rosemary, you want to read that one?
She's next. I move to approve and accept the recommendation from the golf committee to reinstate language and policy procedures for handling rule violations by the golf committee as stated in previous policy.
With a second on that?
Second.
Any conversation? Anything from
What was the previous policy set?
Yeah, we have copies out there for you. Effectively what this is, Ed, if you want to speak to it, but effectively, as I understand it, we're returning to the policy that was changed several years ago. Okay, yeah.
Well, what effectively happened when the documents were rewritten is the whole section about how we deal with forms that are written up that are rules violations, chairman gets. The new policy, as I read it, said everything had to go to the board of directors. It effectively took the golf committee completely out of it. You can't run it that way. I don't think you want to sit and read every violation that comes over from the golf committee. And it's handled very effectively. And I was sitting there saying, well, if you follow the rules, you can deal with these people. Well, then I found out, surprise, there are no rules. They were removed. And they should be put back. They're very effective and they work.
And it's recommended by the golf committee that we restore these. Any other talk on this? Call a question?
I'll call the question.
Yeah.
Can the golf committee take amenities away from anybody in the course?
No.
So anything like that has to come over.
Comes to the board, absolutely. And it's dictated by 720, the law that governs how homeowners associations operate. It cannot remove amenities from people. That may have been the fear of the last board, I'm not really sure, or the one prior to our, but I'm not quite sure what their motivation was, but we're restoring it to what we think is in the best interest of the community. All those in favor?
In favor.
In favor.
In favor.
In favor, Rosemary is not here. Now we'll go down to number 5, which is discuss, consider painting bids for the lodge exterior and golf maintenance building. And Jim, again, would you mind?
Yeah. I was looking over these bids, and to tell you the truth, I can't make any sense out of them. The first bid, I didn't see a bottom line anywhere on there. It gave one cost, and then it gave an hourly cost, but didn't estimate any hours, and then it gave a square footage cost, but didn't estimate the square footage, which meant you came out with no bottom line on that bid. I found the whole thing very confusing, and I move that we refer this back to the Facilities Committee, have them take a look at it, make a recommendation, and we need to make that quick. I'd like to have a recommendation back from the Facilities Committee by next Wednesday.
Would someone like to second that?
Second.
And I'll comment on it. And there was an urgency here because we have a time frame on the completion of the lodge building, and we had some problems getting contractors to submit their bids. Unfortunately, I've seen this happen too many times before in the past here, and it won't continue in the future. We will have enough time to have a proper scope of work. We will reach out to the Facilities Committee to help develop it and then review the contracts. Our staff has a lot on their plate, so they can use the help of our volunteers, our experienced volunteers. But I agree with Jim, we're not ready for this. I know Kim did some research since the board packet was sent to us yesterday. She's clarified some of the points, but we can't make a decision because we haven't had a chance to really look at it in detail, so we're going to throw it back to the Facilities Committee. But please understand, we've got to award a contract. And if these don't work, we'll go on to somebody else, but by the middle of next week, we've got to make a decision so we stay on time. Any other comments?
Yeah.
Yes.
You're talking about painting the lodge 4 walls.
Exterior. It's the exterior.
Exterior. You need a pole, a roller, and 3 or 4 people. Not too difficult.
We don't do that here. We don't do that here. If you have $1 million in liability, we'd be happy to hire you to do that. But, we're precluded from doing that because you're a resident. You know,
It's also masonry restoration and a lot of.
It's a mess. Jim's right.
Okay.
It's a mess.
Are we in favor of moving this back to the Facilities Committee?
And when is their deadline and when will we vote on it?
Wednesday, we'll have a special meeting once they come back with their recommendations.
And make a
And then
motion
if
that
you-
we table this.
No, refer it to a committee.
Yeah, refer it to a committee. And Don, if you're ready to move on this on Monday, let us know. We'll convene a special meeting. We need 48 hours in order to do that. Okay, thank
Call the
you.
question.
I'm not sure if you're ready for that.
Well, in favor?
In favor.
In favor, we're done. Finally, we have to discuss and consider removal of county contractor equipment from Highland Lakes parking area. And the reason why they're giving you that assignment, but then we were advised that the previous board had voted to allow a county contractor to park their equipment on our property. The payback supposedly was that they were going to clean up our parking lot. Well, when they made that agreement with them, they were here 6 times a year or something. Now they're here 10, 12, 15 times a year. So it's a long time to have an eyesore on our property. And also they've done some damage to the surface. And so, will someone read the motion?
I move to have the county contractor equipment at Highland Lakes parking lot area removed and in a previously made agreement.
Second.
Any conversation on it? Let's move the question.
In favor?
In favor.
In favor, so the motion passes. Kim and Carl and Dan, please tell them, stay off our property. They can go to Cobb's Landing. Why wouldn't they go there? We have one announcement before we adjourn this meeting. The recycling option remains under investigation by the Facilities Committee. I can point out that our feedback from the community has been very positive about maintaining a presence with recycling. So with that in mind, single stream might be the best.
Preliminary feelings are that we're not getting rid of it.
Yeah, single stream certainly over what we have now.
Yes, Tom. I just want to give you a quick report, okay, on recycling since we've had it here. As of date, we've had 164 tons of newspaper removed and put into the recycling program. Okay. Angelos will be receiving a check today or yesterday for $227 for aluminum just for this year whole thing. Already, we've collected 1.25 tons of aluminum cans. Overall, we have received money given to us for this simple little project of recycling, which makes everybody feel good, over $3,800.
In a 5-year period.
Okay, it's a start. I think it's important to note that.
Yeah.
You're talking about streamlining. I'm going to suggest that the board of directors take a trip down to one of our streamlining, recycling areas anywhere in the county and look at the mess it causes when you start having bottles, plastics, cardboard, and everything else that's going to come in. Right now, these guys are complaining they're overburdened with the work they're doing already. You bring streamlining in here, you're going to regret it.
It's called single stream, and the problem with the current relationship is that they may be throwing us a couple of bucks when they rant and rave and scream for the money. I don't know how they can afford it because it's costing them $60 a ton to dump this stuff, and they're promising us $10 a ton. Doesn't make any sense.
I think you need to really research. You told me they were going out of business. This company is well in business.
Which one?
The paper company.
There are 2 of them.
They're neither one's going out of business. They're happy to have our business.
So
I think there's this information being put out amongst board members. They need to know the
They've been
truth.
non-responsive. Dan, how often do you have to call them for them to get in here to clean out those
Usually
containers?
several times before they turn.
Yeah.
They also keep a log, and I looked into that, and Ben was told the other day, I called the lady, and she goes, let me check the phone log. I said, did anybody from Maine call you yet? She went down the log, got back, and said, no, nothing on log.
But you have a log also of every call that's been made,
Right.
and I've seen that log.
As a point of order, this hasn't even got to the board yet. It
Yeah.
should be in our committee, and it should tell Hank to come to our committee meeting. And I
I
agree
just want
with,
the board of
with you.
directors to
You'll
know.
still hear it when it comes up for a vote.
Okay, in the spirit of...
And I agree with you. I just like you to come to us so we can do it
In the
properly
spirit
for
of
you.
transparency and openness, we're adjourned.